I'm Carla with Race to Walk, and these are just some thoughts on a Sunday. And what I do in these weekly updates is I share a few thoughts, and I also share where we're at in helping some Afghan Christians in their immigration journey. But I also start with explaining how I got involved in this, because it's a little bit of a crazy story. My friend Mark Ritchie had been doing a ministry in Pakistan since 2020 via Zoom with some Pakistani pastors. And I started helping him with a few classes here and there in 2021. He saw my Bible study on Job 19 and he said, "Great teaching. Do you want to teach women's Bible study in Pakistan?" So I was like, sure. During that time he was teaching them, he came in contact with some Afghan Christians that escaped to Pakistan when the Taliban took over. And last year, in 2022, he asked me to fill in for him with the classes with the Afghan Christians. So that's how it all started. That's how it began. But it grew from Bible studies to helping them where they were at. At the time, there was a need to help them get some visas because Pakistan was threatening to deport Afghans. It's actually going on again. But so we were doing what we could. And I think that sometimes as Christians, we're like, okay, people just need the word. Yeah, they do need the word, but they also need to eat. And Jesus fed the people that he taught. He also healed them, and he saw to their physical needs because we aren't just mind, right? We're also body, and God made us that way, so he knows that we have those needs. So one of the things I've been keeping in mind as I've been working with Afghans in the past year, because I was just asked to teach a Bible study. I didn't know going into it that, I'd be asked to figure out how to get them visas and passports and fundraise and all this stuff. And so, but one of the things that always comes to my mind as I've been doing this, even though, I was just asked to teach a Bible study, is what one of the pastors at my church would say. It's Jonathan Gray, he was a youth pastor at the time, and he would always do the parents meeting before the kids would go on beach retreat. It's a big deal. And they would always have a meeting every year for the parents, telling them what it would be going on and how to prepare. But every single year, he would start the meeting by saying, he said, "I want to teach your kids about Jesus, but my number one priority is to keep them safe. They can't learn about Jesus if they're not safe." And so he would go through this whole long list of things that they were going to be doing to make sure the kids did stay safe in every single way. And so I remember that, that people, I am just teaching Bible studies, or that's what I thought I was going to be doing, but people have a lot more needs than that. They need to be filled and they need to be safe. And so I try to keep that in mind, that they're people, whole people, and they have a lot more needs than only learning about God, even though that's important. But one of Mark's friends, Don Shire, has a ministry at donshireministries.org, and he agreed that any of the donations that are made to his ministry, if you select Race to Walk, that it will be used towards the needs of the Afghan Christians. And they have a lot of needs. Right now, what I've been doing is I've been trying to prioritize getting people documented and set that have some paths out, because can you even imagine having an open door to immigrate out of this dangerous situation, and then not being able to do it because you don't have money for a passport, or can't get birth certificates for your kids, which are required. Like, we've had both of those things happen, and have one thing going on right now. I need to get funding for passports for someone so they can get their resettlement. So anyway, that's what I've been prioritizing. But everybody there has a lot of needs. I don't know if I've always explained this, but when Afghans are in Pakistan, they have to, they can't work on the visas. Some do work under the table, like some illegal immigrants here in the U.S., they get exploited a lot. There is not nearly as much support. There's a lot of, just even support from charities, just for, there are some charities that do distribute food, but there's even partiality in that, that we had one of our people that was denied aid from a Christian organization. It was actually an Irish organization that was providing food, but it was being administered by someone local, and they wouldn't give food to one of our families because he was a convert from Islam. There's just a lot. I'll get into that a little bit afterwards about some of the things that are going on, because it's been intense and it's even getting more intense. But the topic of today's thought is Jesus. He's a person, not a gig. What brought this up, and I was going to try to find and play it, but I even retweeted this, and I cannot find what I retweeted, but I came across a clip of Jordan Peterson, and it was by Reasonable Faith. And so they were sharing a clip that both Jordan Peterson and William Lane Craig had shared about why men particularly should go to church. And this is just like the craziest thing to me. Like, why in the world? This is just like evidence of the post-apocalyptic world that we're in right now, when you have churches and Christian organizations that are going to atheists for, like, basically spiritual guidance. Like, there are pastors' conferences that have had atheists speaking. Like, what the heck are you even thinking? And then Jordan Peterson, what he said was, young men should go to church because they need to know that they have a garden to tend to and a woman to, I don't even know what, and finding your purpose. It's like, this is a problem. This is a problem that people see the church as a program or as a self-help group or something like that. It's, you know what? The church is a body of Christ, okay? The church and Christianity is about a person, the person of Jesus Christ. And if you don't know him, and if you are not in relationship with him, you've got nothing. You got nothing. It doesn't matter about the girl or the garden or the purpose or the plan. None of it matters if you don't know him. And so when Christian organizations are promoting the whole doing plan, I'm just working along, and you completely bypass the fact that we are talking about the person of Jesus Christ, you're just undermining yourself. Jesus is a rock that the church stands on. You're basically knocking out your foundation. Seriously, I just don't even understand this. We actually, this week in my Bible study, we went over, not my Bible study, let me clarify. I have my Sunday Bible study, and then I also have a Monday Bible study that I do with the Afghans, and we're in the book of Romans. And we did Romans 5 this last week, which, again, just as a side note, it just floors me, the number of people who get all worked up about Boogeyman CRT that don't seem to understand that what they're claiming is Boogeyman CRT it has nothing to do with actual CRT. What it is actual Christianity. Yes, generational sin is a thing, generational iniquity. What people don't seem to understand is that salvation has always been the same. It's in faith in the person, in the Savior, to deliver us, right? The only thing that changed at the cross was the remedy, that the remedy was in place. And so the people that lived beforehand were always putting their faith in Yeshua, the deliverance of God. And that's the same that we are doing after the cross too. The sacrifices did not cleanse sin or make atonement. It was evidence that they were putting faith in God alone for their salvation. It was showing that they were putting their trust in Yahweh versus all of these other gods. That's that's what it was showing. So anyway, back to Romans 5, that's exactly what it's talking about. It's just a sin entered into the world through one man. So, the sin, all men are made righteous through the sacrifice of Jesus. That's the point of Romans 5. Generational iniquity and the atonement are two sides of the same coin. You don't get one without the other. And so the meat of chapter 5 in Romans for me has always been, the whole, like, through one man sin entered through the righteousness of one man, we are made righteous. That's the meat of it. But at the beginning, it talks of Romans 5. Let me read it. So this is the beginning. Therefore, since we have been justified through faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ, through whom we have gained access by faith into this grace in which we now stand. And we boast in the hope in the glory of God. Not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope. And hope does not put us to shame, because God's love has been poured out into our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has been given to us. And this verse 3, not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance. And in our discussion this week, I was saying that when they come to whatever country they're going to land in, whether it's the U.S. or Canada or anywhere else, these Christian nations, Christianity, it may not be, it's still the majority in the U.S., it may not be in some of those other countries, but they're based on, they have a Christian heritage, right? And there's no risk in those countries to being a Christian, even though a lot of people like to claim persecution. And I told them that, when they get there, not to ever let someone make them think like they don't really know what it means to be a Christian. They may not know all the doctrine or be as familiar with the Bible, but they're in a situation right now where all they've got is Jesus. Literally everything in their life has been taken from them. And they're not coming to my Bible studies because they think they can get something from it, because other than teaching, because they haven't. A little bit here and there, but it's not like, I've told them I only have what I've been given, and so I can't, I would love to be able to provide for everything for them while they wait, but as it is right now, they're in my Bible studies. They're actually doing the Advent devotional with me too. I'm doing with Charlotte, and all of that puts them at more of a risk. They come and they, if they get deported and the Taliban take their phone, that connection to me on WhatsApp is a risk for them. And so all they have is Jesus. All they have is the peace he brings. And they've had to learn Christ through suffering. That's what they've had to learn. And there's a lot of people in the Christian church, in the Western church, that they've really never gotten to know God, because they haven't needed to, because they've been so comfortable and so safe that they can take the bits and pieces that they want to use. They can use the church for their own agenda. That can be their gig, right? They can benefit from it. They take what they want, but they've never actually had to know the person. They've never needed to get to know Jesus himself. They've never needed to rely on the Holy Spirit. They've never needed to count on the faithfulness of God the Father alone. They've never had to do that, and so they don't know. And so what I told the Afghans this week is, don't ever let someone tell you or make you feel like you don't know God, because the reality is that they probably know him better than a good percent of the people that are parked in the church today. That's the reality, because they've had to live it. And if you want to know the reason for the decline in the U.S. church, it's that reason right there. They've shut out the person of God, and they've stuck with programs. It's, again, I mean, I just, when I saw that post, and I don't know, maybe they took the tweet down. I saw the post that Reasonable Faith posted on Twitter with that clip of Jordan Peterson. Maybe they took it down. Maybe that's why I can't find it. I don't know. But Twitter is weird. And I have mentioned before that I've taken classes from William Lane Craig when I was in the apologetics program at Houston Christian University. I took a class from him every single semester. I didn't know who he was actually before I entered the program. They just said I was on the mailing list, and they were like, if you're in Houston, take a class from him, and because it's a great opportunity. And I'm like, okay, great opportunity, so I'll do it. I mean, literally, it never even, this is how clueless about apologetic circles I was when I entered the program. And so I've heard him say, I've heard him give altar calls basically in some of his debates at the end. And I've heard his testimony about how he has many times in his academic career, like he came to the very end, couldn't go any further, and he had to wait on God to bring him through. So I know he knows that. But I think some of his staff doesn't. Because otherwise they wouldn't have posted that. I don't think. I mean, the reason that he has such strong arguments is because he's had to live it. He's had to live it. He's had to get to a point where it's like, God, you gotta open this door for me. Otherwise, I can't go any farther. I can't go a step farther. So his arguments are grounded in the reality of his knowledge and faith in the person of Jesus Christ. That's it. If you don't have that, you have nothing. You have nothing. You wouldn't have to be so scared about other people having a different opinion or, thinking something different. If you knew who God was yourself, if you already knew the peace of the Holy Spirit, you wouldn't have to be so afraid of everything else. And that's really what a big part of the church is just operating out of fear right now. You just given up the cross and gone into all the chaos of trying to fight for something that you don't need to. You're already standing in the end. So why go off into that brawl, fighting over a truth that you've supposedly already found? Because if obviously it's not actually real for some people that are in the church, I guess. I don't know. But the other thing is, I just wanted to say, because I had a conversation, this is a totally different topic, but I had a conversation with somebody yesterday, and I was really frustrated about, I see it as being two-faced, and my friend said, it's not two-faced. Some people just want to be, say things in private that they don't necessarily want. This is the thing. If you say one thing in public and the other thing in private, then that's the definition of two-faced. That's literally what it is. And the other thing too that I've noticed about a lot of people in the church and Christian circles, they get really offended if you say certain things, like they say they're a hypocrite, they get offended. Or if they say that they're two-faced, they get offended. Or if you say that they're wuss, they get offended. Well, this is the thing. Words have meaning, and we use them to describe reality. So if you're saying one thing in public and another thing in private, yes, you are two-faced. If you do a thing that you condemn somebody else for, yes, you're a hypocrite. And if you're afraid to stand up for something that you believe or confront something, yes, you're a wuss. And if you don't like those labels then that describe what you're doing, then change what you're doing. Change what you're doing. That's the answer to this. I mean, it's just aggravating to me. It's like, we're all about, we're all self-made, in the US, or we do individualism, we do it ourselves. Until people will call you what you actually are, and then, no, I didn't do that. Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. Your actions define who you are. They do. Not what you want to believe about yourself. Your actions do. In James, what is it, 2:26, faith without works is dead. So if you actually believe what you say you believe, then you'll actually act on it. This is one thing that Lee Strobel say in the class that I took from him. He says this often. He said there are 5 Gospels: Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and the Christian. And unfortunately, most people will only read the last one. So if you say you're a Christian and you're being two-faced or a hypocrite or a wuss or a backstabber or a cheat or a liar, and that's the only exposure that somebody else has to who Jesus is. This is the thing. Not only is Jesus as a person, but we're all going to answer for our own actions. And we won't have our little tribe around us on Judgment Day. We have to stand alone ourselves and answer for what we've done or not done with our lives. We have to answer for what we've done with the blessings that we've been given and the resources that we've had, and whether or not we have done something with the opportunities in front of us. So who are we? Are we the religious hypocrite, or are we the Good Samaritan? In the parable of the talents, are we the person who did something with the resources that were given and made them productive, or are we the one that hid our talents, buried in the sand, and did nothing? I mean, we're going to be called to account. I mean, Jesus is a person. Jesus is a person. We answered him. And if you don't know that, but you think you're Christian because you've been in a church, then I'm sorry, you're going to be in, it's not going to turn out well for you in the end. So anyway, those are my thoughts. This is actually the first Sunday of Advent. I actually just learned that a week ago. So, yeah, and the theme is hope. And that's the point of the entire Advent season, is hope is a person. Hope is Jesus. And that's what it's saying in Romans 5, is that we have hope because we know Jesus, because we're in him. So anyway, what's going on in Afghanistan? So much. There is just so much. I will say this. I have to give credit where credit is due. I have been trash talking our State Department because I think they're ridiculous and lame. I mentioned that 3 weeks ago they put out a helpline for Afghans in trouble. It was a Virginia number, like Afghans are going to be able to call that. It took them a couple weeks, and then they got a WhatsApp number to text on, but then there was a correction. So I don't even know what was happening with all that. But one of our people had been arrested by the Pakistani police, and they stole all of his stuff, and he has a visa. He has a visa. So he sent a message to this WhatsApp number, and they actually did collect his information. Now, whether they do something with it, I don't know. That's the next step. We'll see if they actually follow through on anything. So I've been reminding my people that, if they are arrested or deported, or hopefully not deported, but if they're arrested by the Pakistani police, is to document things, try to get as much information about the people that are, doing the arresting and the extortion, and also to take as many pictures as they can, and I do have some, and there's a form that the State Department is collecting information on, and also that WhatsApp number. So just trying to do as much as I can. I had another conversation with somebody, I don't know, just like a day or two ago, where another one of their friends had been arrested, and they were able to get them. And this is somebody that has a UNHCR certification that's in process of being resettled in Germany. But they're just doing what they can to, they're just crooks. They're just so corrupt there. It's just unbelievable. So that's what's going on in Pakistan. It's just the status are really, really, really in a precarious situation. And it's just, I think I mentioned this last week, it's not just Pakistan that's deporting Afghans back to Afghanistan. It's also Iran and Turkey. So I'm not sure what that's all about, because it's almost like a coordinated effort. Another update that I just saw today was, and this is in the last 24 hours, is that the main border, which is the Torkham border between Afghanistan and Pakistan, they've closed the border to everyone that doesn't have a passport or a visa. And you may say, of course, a passport, or, and that would be an obvious thing, but they've had a thing where that if somebody didn't have a Pakistan visa, because it's very difficult to get a Pakistan visa for Afghans, very, very difficult if they're not paying an extortionate fee. But they've had an agreement. My people refer to it as a gate pass. I don't know what the actual word for it is, but allow them to get a gate pass even if they didn't have a Pakistan visa to go into Pakistan. And they are not letting anybody do that now. And this is from the update. Considering the difficulty in obtaining a passport from the eternally plagued and corrupt passport directorate in Afghanistan and the similarly afflicted Pakistan visa process, is totally true. I mean, like $1,500 to get a Pakistan visa. It's ridiculous. The new order will almost certainly result in lack of medical care to those most in need. And this is true. Like the Taliban can even keep hospitals open, beside the fact that they basically won't allow women to be treated by male doctors. It's just a complete mess. They're ridiculous. While many are blaming Pakistan for the issue, there are several cases where Afghans who are not seeking care simply paid a bribe to the Ministry of Public Health in Afghanistan to receive a letter of approval. Yesterday, the head of the passport directorate in the Parwan province was arrested on corruption charges for taking bribes to expedite passport deliveries. Here's the thing, that guy must have been a fall guy, because they all do that. The passport office in Afghanistan was closed for 4 months, but you could still get visas if you paid a Taliban member. It's a fall guy. That person must have been a fall guy, because they seriously all do that. Other on Afghanistan, which really reminds me a lot of Texas, the power shortages could worsen. A recent 50% cut in imported electricity from Uzbekistan has caused serious problems for citizens and businesses, and now the National Power Company is warning that the cuts could deepen during the upcoming winter months. Uzbekistan reportedly cut the export of power to Afghanistan by as much as half in November, and it says it needed time to repair and modernize the transmission grid. Same as Texas. The reduction was projected to last for 7 to 12 days. Weeks later, full importation has yet to resume, and citizens are voicing concerns as the weather turns cold. This is one of the things I want to talk about. I came across this week a tweet about somebody talking about what Florida is planning on doing. They're trying to put a new tax on money transfers in order to curb immigration. So Florida wants to put I think it was like a 1.5% surcharge on any money transfers going to other countries or something. I don't know if it was just for MoneyGram. It would have to be like accounts too. I don't know. But I'm like, that's just like the dumbest thing. Because I think that, because people will come here, right? And then they will send money back home to support their family. And so they're trying to, do you know how dumb that is? I mean, they're working, paying taxes into the U.S. I mean, even if somebody doesn't have their citizenship, they still still pay taxes. They still do. And so they're working, generating income, which is benefiting the U.S. economy, paying taxes, filling jobs, and they happen to be supporting family back home. And they want to discourage that. That's like the dumbest thing ever. I mean, do people think anything through? But the thing that's really dumb about that is that it's not just people that are sending help back home, immigrants that are sending help back home. It's also like businesses and nonprofits use those money transfers, and that 1.5%, oh, it's minor. Baloney. I mean, do you know, this is one of the things, like, I have to always, like, calculate, okay, when we get donations in, I know the total, what is the net, and then we have transfer fees to pay through MoneyGram, and then I don't know, like, what kind of, there shouldn't be other fees when they receive it in Pakistan, but who knows? Pakistan's so corrupt. There's already a ton of fees on there, and that 1.5%, that's basically what credit cards charge in processing fees. It's not a minor charge. It's just dumb. It's dumb. It's like people, it's the things people do just to be xenophobic. It's just completely ridiculous. So that's Florida, and I guess Oklahoma has already done that. Oh my gosh, it's dumb, super dumb. The people, like, get a life. Literally get a life and learn a little bit about the world. Oh my goodness. It's just, you think people would get tired of being dumb. I don't know. Just people are ridiculous sometimes. So anyway, I think I'm going to call it a day. I have some things to do, but keep us all in your prayers. We have a fundraiser coming up next week, our first one that my friend Leslie, and this is for her families that she's been working with, but I hope that will also benefit for some of our other families too. Also be praying that our people that have been told they're going to be resettled actually are quickly. It's just so frustrating. It's just like things drag on and on and on. It's so aggravating because they could just get on a plane and go, right? It's not like they have to cross an ocean or anything. They could be there in a day and be resettled, and it's just waiting for the paperwork. It's so aggravating. And then also, I talked about this one person that, this was back in February, I think, that had gone to Brazil and then came through the border and who was missing for 2 months. He is in New York now. I was able to connect him with an organization up there that would help with legal aid, right? And he has some friends with there, got connected in with a church that's been helping with him. And he'll check in with me every once in a while when he wants some prayer and gets nervous. And I guess he has like an interview or something regarding his case, and so he's a little nervous about it. So he'd sent me a message asking for prayers. If you can pray for him in his case, that he gets favor on that, and that would be great. And he sent me a picture of his job. He's working in a restaurant, so that's good. But anyway, I'm happy to see that. So he's connected. His case is in progress, and hopefully gets a favorable response from that. So again, if you'd like to help any of our people, you can go to dawnshireministries.org and select Raised to Walk. If you'd like to go to a particular thing, you can do that. You can just put in the comments what you'd like it to go to. But just remember that Don does have a lot of his own ministries that he's doing. He does. He has orphanages in Haiti and India, and he has a refugee shelter for Ukrainians. Those are the things I know of. I think he has some other things too, but he also has other efforts that he's helping, like he's helping Mark and I on this. So just if you want it to go to the Afghans, just make sure you select Raised to Walk. So thanks for watching, and wherever you're at, I hope you're able to do some good. Talk to you later.